Intimidation is an age-old tactic used to exert power and control over others. It can be found in various aspects of life, whether in the workplace, family dynamics, social interactions, or political power struggles. Although it may not always be as overt as physical violence, the psychological pressure of intimidation can often be just as harmful. The ability to recognize and counteract these tactics is essential for preserving one's autonomy and well-being. In this article, we will delve into the psychology behind intimidation tactics and explore effective strategies to protect oneself from their impact. Intimidation comes in many forms, from subtle manipulations to overt displays of power meant to create fear and compliance. One of the most common tactics used is verbal intimidation. This involves using harsh language, threats, or aggressive tones to create a sense of fear or anxiety in the other person. The aim is to make the individual feel powerless and to silence any resistance. A boss who belittles an employee in front of colleagues or a partner who uses threatening language to enforce control are examples of verbal intimidation. In such situations, the target is often left feeling weak and uncertain, even if they have valid reasons for their actions or opinions. Another common tactic is emotional intimidation, which often plays on a person's vulnerabilities. This form of intimidation can involve guilt-tripping, shaming, or using emotional blackmail. A person may be made to feel that they owe something to the intimidator or that they are responsible for the other person's feelings or actions. Emotional intimidation is especially potent because it can cause deep internal conflict in the target. It exploits feelings of empathy and responsibility, making it harder for the person being intimidated to stand up for themselves. In social intimidation, a person might use the power of their social standing, influence, or connections to make the target feel small or unimportant. This could include spreading rumors, turning others against the target, or isolating them socially. This tactic is often used in toxic workplaces, political arenas, or social circles where reputation and relationships play a significant role. Social intimidation works by eroding the target's confidence and making them feel alienated from their support system. Physical intimidation is perhaps the most obvious form, but it's not always limited to violence. It can also involve the use of body language or posturing to make the other person feel physically threatened. A person may stand too close, use aggressive gestures, or display overt dominance to make the other person feel intimidated or unsafe. This type of intimidation is often used by individuals seeking to assert dominance and control in a situation where they may not have the upper hand otherwise. Despite its many forms, the common thread running through all tactics of intimidation is the attempt to undermine the target's confidence, autonomy, and sense of self. The goal is often to make the person feel vulnerable, isolated, and unable to defend themselves. However, there are effective ways to recognize these tactics and counteract them. The first step in counteracting intimidation is to recognize the signs early. Often, those who use intimidation rely on the element of surprise to catch their targets off guard. Recognizing when manipulation or control is happening can help the individual maintain their sense of self and confidence. Trusting one's instincts is key in these situations. If something feels off or uncomfortable, it is likely that intimidation is at play. One of the most important ways to resist intimidation is by asserting boundaries. People who use intimidation often succeed because their victims have trouble standing up for themselves or enforcing limits. To counteract this, it is crucial to set clear and firm boundaries with the person who is trying to intimidate you. This might involve politely but firmly stating that certain behavior is unacceptable and that you will not tolerate being disrespected or manipulated. Setting boundaries shows that you are confident, aware of your rights, and unwilling to submit to coercion. Staying calm under pressure is another essential strategy. Intimidators rely on creating emotional reactions in their targets, whether through fear, anger, or guilt. When faced with intimidation, the ability to remain calm and composed is vital. This helps the individual think more clearly, make rational decisions, and avoid being drawn into emotional conflict. Techniques such as deep breathing, mindfulness, or simply taking a moment to collect oneself can prevent the target from reacting impulsively, which would play into the manipulator's hands. In cases of verbal intimidation, disengagement is a powerful tool. Instead of engaging in a back-and-forth battle or becoming defensive, sometimes the best strategy is to disengage from the situation entirely. By not reacting emotionally or verbally to the intimidation, you remove the power the intimidator has over you. This can be particularly effective in workplace or social settings where the goal of the intimidator is to provoke a response. Ignoring their attempts or calmly walking away may be a signal that their tactics will not work. Another key strategy is to seek support from others. Intimidation often thrives in isolation, where the target feels they are facing the problem alone. In many cases, speaking to friends, family, or colleagues can provide validation and perspective, reinforcing that the intimidator's actions are not acceptable. Support networks can also help the individual build confidence and resilience, making it harder for the intimidator to succeed. In more serious cases, seeking professional advice or legal counsel may be necessary to combat intimidation tactics effectively. One of the most important defenses against intimidation is to build self-confidence. Intimidators often prey on those who lack self-assurance or are unsure of their place in a situation. By improving self-esteem and reinforcing personal value, an individual can become more resistant to manipulation. This may involve personal development, learning new skills, or simply acknowledging one's worth and standing firm in one's beliefs and actions. In some cases, intimidation can escalate to more aggressive behavior, requiring more direct action. If an intimidator refuses to respect boundaries or continues to make the situation unbearable, it may be necessary to take formal action, such as reporting the behavior to superiors, HR, or relevant authorities. In extreme cases, legal steps may need to be taken, especially in situations involving harassment or physical threats. Intimidation is a powerful psychological tactic, but it is not invincible. By recognizing the signs of manipulation early, asserting boundaries, staying calm, seeking support, and building self-confidence, individuals can protect themselves from the harmful effects of intimidation. It is also crucial to understand that intimidation is not a reflection of personal weakness, but rather of the aggressor's desire for control. By reclaiming autonomy and resisting these tactics, one can break free from the cycle of intimidation and regain control over their own life.